He is right there with Lemieux and Gretzky as the smartest players to ever play the game.
In the annals of hockey history, where legends are etched in stone and echo through time, there's one name that often slips through the cracks: Adam freaking Oates. A man with vision so sharp and hockey IQ so elite, he made setting up players look effortless. Oates, a Hall of Famer with over 1,400 points, was a master of the assist, the architect behind some of the greatest goal scorers in NHL history's career years. A player that proved that the ones setting up the goal scorers are just as important. Yet despite his remarkable achievements, when we think of the sport's top point getters, his name rarely comes to mind. But there he is. At the time of this recording, he ranks 20th all time in NHL scoring. Overshadowed by the flashier stars he played with, his brilliance often goes unnoticed, a victim of recency bias and the game's evolving spotlight. But after taking a closer look, you'll find a man who could dictate the flow of the game like few before or after him, leading to me and many others to consider Adam Oates one of the most underrated players the sport has ever seen. We all know the name, but do we truly understand the greatness behind it? Well, boys, it's time to set the record straight. Adam Oates is a legend in every sense, and he deserves the recognition and respect that's long been overdue. Adam Oates was born on August 27, 1962, and grew up in a small neighborhood in Western Ontario near Toronto. From a young age, Oates had a love for both hockey and lacrosse, quickly excelling at both. And his talent in lacrosse was nothing short of extraordinary. Playing for the Etobicoke Eclipse in the Ontario Lacrosse Association, a Junior A lacrosse league, Oates put up an incredible 181 points in just 19 games in 1981. In one remarkable game, he would set records with 19 assists and 29 points, feats that remain a significant part of lacrosse history. Despite his undeniable skill in the sport, Oates would eventually shift his focus to hockey, realizing that was his true calling. Adam's journey to hockey stardom was anything but typical. He once described his younger self as a punk, admitting that he partied frequently, which led to him dropping out of high school, setting up his potential future as a gas station attendant. And on the ice in his early years, Oates was often overlooked by scouts for being quote-unquote too slow. He had to work tirelessly to earn his place in the hockey world, but once he broke through, his impact was impossible to ignore. Though he wasn't committed to school, he sure was committed to hockey, spending time dominating the OPJAHL for the Markham Waxers, and realizing that working at a gas station wasn't as glamorous as they made it look in the movies, Oates decided it would be a good idea to return to school and earn his high school diploma. After returning to school, Adam Oates soon found himself catching the attention of Paul Allen, an assistant coach at NCAA's RPI, during a Waxers game in 1982. Allen had actually been scouting another player, but Oates' impressive two-way play stole the spotlight. Allen quickly offered him a spot on the team, and from that moment, Oates' career truly began to take off. Over the next 3 seasons, Oates led the team in assists every year, even setting school records in 1984 for both points and assists. It was this pass-first mentality, a trait ingrained in him by his father, that became the hallmark of his game. Adam's father, David Oates, a British immigrant, idolized Stanley Matthews, one of the greatest footballers of all time. He hoped his son would adopt the same unselfish approach to the game that Matthews was known for. As Oates once explained, it was just kind of our family talks. If you can be unselfish, your teammates will always like you. Driven by a desire to please his father, Oates naturally grew into the role of a playmaker. Now, by the time he was set to leave RPI, Oates had not only become an NCAA All-American, but also cemented himself as a top prospect ready to make his mark in the NHL. Well, you'd think that putting up numbers like Adam Oates did would have scouts lining up to draft him. But incredibly, he was still pegged as being too slow and went completely undrafted. Overlooked by every single team, it's almost criminal that nobody saw his potential, especially in hindsight when his brilliance as a playmaker is now so obvious. Despite this setback, Oates didn't slow down. He continued to dominate at RPI, and by the end of the 1985 season, teams realized just how big of a mistake they had made by passing on him. As a result, a bidding war broke out, with several NHL teams fighting to sign him. Going undrafted ended up being a blessing in disguise, as Oates made history when he inked a record-breaking $1.1 million deal with the Red Wings, becoming the highest paid rookie in NHL history at the time. Adam made his NHL debut on October 10, 1985 against the Minnesota North Stars, scoring his first NHL goal that night and picking up a helper, of course. But after that promising start, Oates hit a rough patch, going pointless over his next 16 games. Struggling to find his rhythm, the team decided to send him down to the Adirondack Red Wings in the American Hockey League, hoping that a change of pace would get him back on track. It was a humbling setback, but one that would definitely shape his future. In the minors, Oates thrived, playing a pivotal role in leading Adirondack to a Calder Cup championship. During that time, he owned his skills and regained his confidence, determined that when his next opportunity in the NHL came, he'd be more than ready to seize it. Though he initially played as an effective second or third line center, Detroit had another rising star, a young player by the name of Steve Yzerman, which pretty much blocked his chances of being a first line center in Detroit. In his first full NHL season, Oates recorded 15 goals and 47 points in 76 games, helping the Red Wings solidify their status as a strong team. However, like many solid teams of the era, Detroit would run into the Edmonton Oilers juggernaut, getting waxed by them in the conference finals in both 1987 and 1988. But by 1989, the Adam Oates from RPI had fully emerged as a star, racking up an impressive 62 assists and 78 points in just 69 games. A pattern that would go on to define his career, as his playmaking ability saw his totals for assists far outweigh his goals. Yet despite his breakout success, Oates' time in Detroit would come to an abrupt end following the 1989 season. In now what is considered one of the worst trades in Red Wings history, Oates, along with Paul McLean, were dealt to the St. Louis Blues in exchange for Bernie Federko. Oates was initially devastated upon first being dealt. He loved it in Detroit and loved being a Red Wing. But when Adam joined the St. Louis Blues, he would quickly turn it up a notch, where he would form one of the NHL's most iconic duos with the legendary Brett Hull. Together, Hull and Oates became a nightmare for opposing teams across the league. The Golden Brett's staggering 72 and 86 goal seasons in back-to-back years were owed much to Oates' laser-sharp playmaking abilities. In just 2 seasons, Oates tallied over 200 points, solidifying his place as one of the league's premier passers. While Hull garnered the spotlight, Oates quietly went about his business. In 1990, Oates hit the 100-point mark for the first time, notching 102 points, followed by an even more impressive 115 points in 1991. Not only did Adam's chemistry with Hull help the sniper achieve the 50 goals in 50 games milestone twice, but Oates also played a huge part in Hull's 86-goal campaign, the third highest single season total ever. Oates also earned All-Star honors in 1991. However, beneath the surface, tensions were brewing. Despite signing a 4-year, $3 million contract extension with the Blues before the 1992 season, Oates felt undervalued, as the team handed out larger contracts to newcomers Brandon Shanahan, Garth Butcher, and Ron Sutter. Frustrated, Oates threatened to leave the team if his deal wasn't renegotiated after the 1992 All-Star break, leading to extreme backlash from Blues fans. And on February 7th, 1992, the situation reached its boiling point, and the Blues traded Oates to the Boston Bruins for Craig Janney and Stefan Quintel, a move that would later be viewed as pretty lopsided. It's hard to believe that a player of Oates' caliber, a future Hall of Famer, and a brilliant hockey mind who rarely took any penalties, played for 6 different teams during his career, but some of that did fall on him. But who could really blame the guy for wanting more money, especially when he was the co-face of the franchise along with Hall, and helped them make the playoffs in both years he was there. His uncanny ability to read the game and feed perfect passes, especially to Hall, should have made him an invaluable asset. Brett Hall even offered to take a pay cut just to keep Oates in St. Louis. The Blues shockingly declined, and broke up one of the most dynamic duos in NHL history. Though his time in St. Louis was brief, many still associate Oates with the Blues and his dynamic partnership with Hall, yet it would be in Boston where Oates truly became a legend. After the trade to Boston, Oates seemed destined to wear black and gold. He was made to be a Bruin. Oates would waste no time proving his worth, putting up 30 points in his first 26 games with Boston, followed by an impressive 19 points in 15 playoff games. Despite his best efforts, Boston was swept by the Pittsburgh Penguins in the conference finals. Adam Oates' 1993 season stands as the crowning achievement of his illustrious career. A masterclass in playmaking and hockey IQ was on display that entire season. Adam netted 45 goals and led the NHL with a staggering 97 assists, amassing 142 points over 84 games. It's really impressive to think that even without scoring a single goal, Oates would have still finished well above a point per game. And until just recently, with the likes of McJesus and Kucherov surpassing him, only Mario Lemieux, Bobby Orr, and Wayne Gretzky had ever put up more assists in a single season. Sadly, after a dominant regular season, the Bruins fell victim to Brad May's iconic May Day overtime goal and ended up being embarrassed by the Buffalo Sabres in the playoffs. In 1994, Oates found himself alongside another legend, Cam Neely. Neely's incredible achievement of 50 goals in 49 games was in large part thanks to Oates' playmaking brilliance. Oates had already helped Brett Hall reach the coveted 50 and 50 goal mark in St. Louis, and now he had done it again with Neely, further cementing his reputation as one of the best passers of all time. Though Boston had a solid year, they were eventually ousted by the New Jersey Devils in the conference semifinals. But Oates stayed as consistent as ever, recording back-to-back 100-point seasons for the second time in his career now, showcasing his ability to perform at an elite level wherever he played. Unfortunately, the 1995 NHL lockout tanked Boston's momentum, and they would have a pretty mid-year. Yet when play resumed, Oates remained his usual self, racking up 12 goals and 41 assists in just 48 games. Following another elite season from Adam in '96, things started to unravel in Boston. In 1997, the team was having its worst season in nearly a decade, and Oates grew increasingly frustrated with the management, believing they had lost their commitment to winning. This led to a blockbuster trade that sent him out of Boston, a move that to this day many argue wasn't enough compensation for all that Oates had given the Bruins. It was a clear sign that Oates was still vastly underrated even by the league. When Adam Oates arrived in Washington, his playmaking magic didn't miss a beat. He quickly became a key influence in helping another stud, Peter Bondra. With Oates feeding him the puck, Bondra hit the 50-goal mark for the second time in his career, solidifying his place among the league's elite goal scorers, further showcasing Oates' ability to elevate the careers of those around him. But 1998 wasn't just about individual success. It was a season that further cemented Oates' legacy as one of the game's true difference makers. In 1998, Adam Oates was at the helm in leading the Washington Capitals to their first Stanley Cup final. Throughout the postseason, he showcased his elite playmaking abilities on the grand stage, tallying 17 points in 21 games. Unfortunately, the Capitals fell short against Oates' former team, the Detroit Red Wings, who were driven by the emotional weight of playing for their fallen brother, Vladimir Konstantinov. Konstantinov's potential Hall of Fame career had been tragically cut short, and let's be real, it likely would have taken a super team to overcome the determined Detroit Red Wings as they fought to honor his legacy. The following year in 1999, Oates missed a significant portion of the season due to injuries, but remained a valuable contributor whenever he was on the ice. Despite his continued excellence, Washington never made another deep playoff run during Oates' tenure. After 2 more solid seasons in DC, with Father Time starting to creep in, the Capitals made the difficult decision to not re-sign their captain in 2002, opting instead to trade him to the Philadelphia Flyers at the deadline. Unfortunately, his stint in Philly was underwhelming, and they chose not to retain him either. At 39 years old, many believed Oates' career was nearing its end, but Oates had one final run left in him. In 2003, he joined the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim.
We're ready.
Any suggestions?
Yeah, I got a few. Power play? Let's not settle for the first shot. I want everybody to look around and make the extra pass. Oatsy, you just feed Paul the biscuit in the slot, and we're gonna see hats on the ice all season long. Capiche? Good. Now you wanna talk even strength? Ready for the check?
I got it.
Adam Oates had an impressive season for a player nearing 40, posting 45 points in 67 games. His contributions were key in helping the Mighty Ducks reach the Stanley Cup final, and his playmaking abilities were on full display during some of the most memorable moments of that run. In the 5th longest game in NHL history, which stretched into a 5th overtime, Oates set up Peter Sikora's unforgettable game-winning goal.
The red line and shoot it around. Turco couldn't get all of it. Leclaire in by Hatcher, centered by Oates, shot, score! There it is! In sudden death overtime, it's Peter Sikora. The game that would not end just has.
The very next game, Oates was at it again, assisting Mike Leclerc on an overtime winner, and later he scored the series-clinching goal to send the Ducks to the final. Despite his best efforts, Oates would face heartbreak once again, as the Anaheim Ducks fell in a dramatic Game 7 to the New Jersey Devils. He finished the playoffs with 13 points in 21 games, marking his final appearance in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Oates played one last season with the Edmonton Oilers in 2004 before retiring, bringing an end to one of the most underappreciated careers in hockey history. Despite being overlooked for much of his playing days and for a prolonged amount of time after his retirement, Oates finally received the recognition he deserved when he was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2012. Cementing his legacy as one of the game's greatest playmakers. Adam Oates was never the media darling that players of his caliber typically become, despite finishing his career with 1,420 points, ranking 13th all-time at the time of his retirement, and tallying 1,079 assists, 5th on the all-time list. He still flies under the radar when it comes to being mentioned among the all-time greats. Oates never captured a major individual award, and was constantly overshadowed by the flashier stars who played during his era. Even when he led the NHL in assists 3 times during his career, including at ages 38 and 39. Given his incredible hockey mind, it was no surprise that after hanging up his skates, Adam Oates transitioned into coaching, first taking on assistant roles with the Tampa Bay Lightning and New Jersey Devils. And his journey would lead him back to Washington, where he served as head coach from 2012 to 2014. In 2017, his contributions to the game would be immortalized forever when he was named one of the 100 greatest NHL players in history. Oates' legacy is one of quiet brilliance. Though he never sought the spotlight, he earned it with his unmatched ability to elevate those around him, his selfless style, and his tireless work ethic. He remains one of the most underrated figures in hockey history, a hidden gem whose contributions were instrumental in shaping the game. Adam Oates was more than just a great playmaker. He was one of the best players from his time, who deserves to be celebrated as such. Thank you boys so much for tuning in. I've got to apologize though for falling behind on the videos lately. Life in school has just been kicking my ass right now, but I think I've found a good balance. From here on, I'll aim to drop at least one new video each week. Your support has been incredible. Like, we're almost at 5,000 subs. I appreciate every single one of you boys. And if you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you boys in the next one.